hosted, and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News. Formal action may be taken. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Betterman. Ms. Fiore. Mr. Peach. Ms. Betterman.
Here.
Ms. Bogorski.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Ms. Wolf.
Here.
Mr. Swirling.
Here.
Dr. Cerciella. Mrs. Sample.
Here. Can we please rise for the flag salute, which is over there? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Dr. Card, I'll turn it over to you for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. And I actually get to turn it over to our supervisor of social emotional learning and special projects to go through our annual HIV self-assessment report. This is a self-assessment done with the climate team in each building. These are self-scores that we review internally and then we submit to the state for review. But before we submit to the state for review, we have our Board of Education review, Mr. Tumalo's presentation, and then post on our website and then we submit. So, Mr. Tumalo, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. So I should be fairly quick. I'm just going to go through and share out our data from this year. So I shared with you the memo for the board to submit the actual scores from each building. This is just going to be an overview for you. So basically, I just want to start with our process for determining and submitting the scores. So we meet as a school climate team at the end of the year. School counselor, that they are the anti-bullying specialists. I meet there myself as well with the principal. I'm the anti-bullying coordinator and also the member. And we go through this survey together and just kind of see, it's based off of something that the state provides for us. So we meet, we go through each question, come up with the results, and then from there I compile the data, which I'm going to share with you now. And we come up with some district goals, but then also individual building goals. In this presentation, I just include our district goals, but in the board memo, I included the specific building ones for you. So if you have any questions on that, you can talk about it. Then the self-assessment results I enter them onto the state website and for final submission. And then once we get the official release, which is usually probably next June, we'll get them, I'll post them on the website. So in the meantime, I'll post the uncertified document that's shared in the memo on our website until that time. All right. So with the self-assessment rubric, there are 8 core elements, all right, 26 total indicators. And then on there, I'll walk you through. So there's some elements to talk about the HIV programming, training on the HIV policy, staff instruction and training programs, curriculum instruction on HIV and related information, HIV personnel, school level HIV incident reporting, like the procedures for that, our investigation procedures, and then reporting. Those are the different areas. For the grading scale, so it's 0 to 3. 0 is does not meet the requirements. 1 partially meets, 2 is meeting, and 3 is exceeding. I wanted to point out that if a school gets all 2s, meeting, their score will be a 52. Our scores are in the 70s, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. That we're exceeding.
Sorry.
All right, so
Sorry.
ooh, there's double again. I like that. One of these enough. Perfect. Thank you. So here are results from. I broke it down by each building. 3 Bridges. You can see, right? So I don't want to really kind of share that out. And this again came from our school climate team as a together. I wanted any questions up until this point. Okay. So here are district areas of strength that we feel, we do pretty well. Core element 1, 6, 7, and 8. So what that means is we think we have some really good HIV programming. We spent a lot of time coming up with programming to, SEL programming, things like that. What we really want to work on is more training, but I'll get to that in a little bit. We also think that there are reporting procedures. We've really worked hard in the past year or two, right, Dr. Hart, with Stacey Cherry, our district attorney, to really kind of clean up our procedures, make them more systemic, make them more cohesive between buildings. So I think that we're seeing and really hearing from our anti-bullying specialists, our school counselors who do the investigating, that they feel it's just much more smooth of a process for them. And again, the reporting piece. Some areas of focus. There's a couple areas that we want to look at, which I said had, one of the areas we want to continue with our programming. We don't want to, even though it's a strength, we don't want to forget about it. So keep looking at that. Keep looking at our approaches. One of the things that we want to do this coming year, is reinstate our school climate survey. We did that prior to the pandemic, but felt that it wasn't appropriate based on, what was going on. So we do want to look at that and possibly re-administer that for next year, which I think will help with some of this information. Also, some specific training with students. So one of the indicators on the on our assessment is discussing the policy with students. So we have to look at that and really think about age appropriately how we do that, right? Explaining to them, what does this mean? Kind of like what we do with the code of conduct. It's kind of similar in that way. So that's one area we want to look at, specifically at the middle school. And again, we want to look more training. So the training kind of with staff really extends to any adult that comes into our building and works with students, technically requires training on a policy. And that's been really challenging. Like, how do we do that, right? So we're looking at ways to provide more training to our volunteers that come in, providing training to our bus drivers, new hires that come mid-year, substitutes, things like that, right? So we want to look at, we already do things already, but there's probably some things that we can do a little bit better. And that goes into other staff instruction and training. Any questions before I kind of wrap up?
Anthony, I'll point out two
Yeah.
quick things for the board as well. One, over the course of this year, you kept track of some of our HIV data, and we noticed some trends that happen, in the winter time and things like that. While it may not be an indicator on the self-assessment form, we are going to have maybe a little bit of a different approach this year that we're discussing on how we breathe some life into or revitalize some of our training around mid-year, the time that maybe it's not as fresh, and the time that maybe it's needed the most when folks are inside and there's not as many activities and things like that for kids. So that's one of our approaches that we're looking into shifting this year, to maybe have more of a focus on kids and training kids, but really focusing on the time that we start to see an increase in cases of bullying that we have to investigate. And the second thing, for board members who've been here, and even members of the public who've been here, QSAC, which is our state monitoring system that happens every 3 years. The specific training about volunteers was one of the indicators that in QSAC, we didn't meet the requirements with the state. So it's something that we recognize that we need to revisit on an annual basis. So I want to point those two things out.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that revisiting, like Dr. Hart said, we do it in October for the Week of Respect, right? There's I believe Violence Prevention Week is in October. So we do a lot of things then, but also revisiting them later as well. And then finally, just to kind of recap that submission process, I go on to New Jersey Homerooms, which is on the Department of Education website. The deadline for submissions is December of this year. It's already kind of done. I just have to hit certify. So that's already ready to go. And then once we get that official report back, I'll post it on the website.
I have lots of questions.
Lots of questions. Yay. Okay.
I have a few questions. For volunteer training, I should probably know the answer to this, but does our policy cover training volunteers? I know I'm head of the policy committee, so I could take that as an action item because I didn't honestly think about that.
I believe it is in our policy, yeah.
Okay, and then so the second part of that is maybe it's possible to work with the HSA since a lot of the volunteers that come in would be covered from that.
That's a great idea.
You know, maybe I don't know if it's appropriate at the first business meeting or something like that, but maybe using a partnership with the HSA to help deploy that training to people might be helpful. I know I worked with Jason last year and we trained the board on it. And we just used the online, the video, the webinar online to do it. So I think it's a possibility if you want to consider doing that.
Anthony, we have the first board meeting of the HSA. It's virtual now, but maybe you could come to that, maybe give a brief overview. And for anyone who misses it, we can always give a video to the HSA for any of the homeboard moms or homeboard reps or VPs that can't be there or something like that, so they have access to it.
Absolutely. And the presentation's pretty much done. I just update it every year, so we can have it. And that might be even something, Dr. Hart, I don't know if we could do, maybe even posting it on our website.
Yeah.
As just an extra option for people to look at, which I actually think it's on there. It may be there already.
The thing for the state compliance, the thing is like the official like sign up sheets, right? Like there's like an audit trail of things like this. So like an agenda that's accompanied with an audit, like with a sign-in sheet and everything like that. So we'll just have to figure out how we kind of get folks to sign into like a Google survey and certify that they did the video or something. So,
Yes. And then the second thing, third, who's counting, that I have, I had a question on the more detailed report that we saw.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling a little bit and I'm looking for some help and some context. If we are scoring our schools so high, 3 out of the 4 schools got the highest rating. I guess I'm wondering why there are so many recommendations in the report for us to do. I was a little, here's where I'm coming from. If we have so many things to do in the school year and we're pulling people for their time, and I know you're a very busy person, we're all very busy people, do there really need to be that many recommendations? Are they in excess of what we do now, or are we just taking another look? I'm trying to make sure that we are managing people's time and being very respectful. And I know this is very important. I'm not saying that it's not important, but I just feel like, if I think you said the middle school had an issue with the student part of it having policy discussed. That's a recommendation for the whole district, but really the other schools rated themselves great on that.
Exactly.
Being part of the team. Maybe that only is done at RMS. I'm just trying to really figure out how we scale it so that it doesn't become something that pulls people away from their, what they're trying to do. It just enhances what they're trying to do.
No, I appreciate that, absolutely. And so these goals, again, I think it was just to make sure that we're still mindful of these things, but I meet with them as a school climate team quarterly. And so during these meetings, we discuss how can we, what else can we do? What else can I do to support, right? So it's not so much what do the staff have to do. It's more really between me and the anti-bullying specialists, right? So it's that conversation that we have of how can we support more. Is that right? Does that make sense? Right? It's really not like an extra expectation on people. It's more like our own goals that we're working on.
I think too, I would say it's a couple things. One, even though we exceed expectations based off of the criteria set forth by the state self-assessment form, that there are internal things specific to our district that we see as areas where we can grow that maybe aren't reflected necessarily on those specific core elements. But if you dig a little bit deeper into what those core elements are, we see like an opportunity, I guess is what I would say. And then the other thing about the memo too is the way I read it while we break it down by building, we're really talking about core element 2, 3, and 4, right? So 3 areas of focus that really serve as reminders and improvement for us. But you bring up a really good point, right? Like we have to balance our resources here. And I think this is a way that reminds Anthony and reminds us as a leadership team to keep our focus on here rather than reinventing anything, but maybe look at things where we can refresh or enhance.
And I would say that the training in the mid-year, like after break, that's an example of an enhancement, right?
Yeah.
We're not changing it, but it's better utilizing, okay, we're seeing a lot more happening here, so what can we do for that? So we increase the training and hopefully, right?
And that will never be reflected in a report like
Right.
this, right? We're
Right,
already,
right.
you know, that'll never be reflected, but that's something internally that we think that we need to do because of the trend that we see in the data that we're collecting. Great questions.
And I have one more.
Yeah.
And so if this is, I'm on fire today. So if this is a self-assessment that we do, that gets uploaded to this portal, is there an outside assessment too, or is that what you're talking about? CUSAC covers that as an out, is there any sort of outside assessment, or is it strictly internal?
I believe it's from this is internal. This is internal based on our school climate, like based on what we see, based on our HIV investigations, conversations that we have with the team, how we feel that we have supported our our students and our staff.
And then CUSAC will be the external.
So what we get.
But they're more like checking audit trail, right? Like paperwork, did you do it? Not like, were you honest about your scores, right? There is no external auditor that's going to come in and check your climate, which I think would be hard to assess. But.
And twice a year, Anthony, we also do the HIV. Remind me of that report. It's a separate report. That's the look back period.
That's the data, the data submission.
And it's just simply cases founded, not founded.
Cases founded, not founded, and then what HIV programs and trainings have we offered in the fall, and what have we offered in the spring. Yeah, that's what that report is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, any other questions? Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's all I have. The superintendent's report.
All right. Moving on. We are now open to the public, limited to action items on the agenda. Nothing. Okay.
Any comments, Jody?
I'm sorry, I'm getting there.
I don't see
No,
any.
I don't see anything. Thank you.
All right. Correspondence. We had an email from LS on a follow-up. Moving on to board action. Can I get a motion to adopt 1.01 to 1.03 administrative reports?
So move, Beth. Second, Carolyn.
Any comments or questions? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Betterman,
Yes.
Ms. Fiore,
Yes.
Ms. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Ms. Hample.
Yes. Moving on to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to adopt 2.01 to 2.03?
So move, Beth.
Second, Jennifer. Any comments or questions? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Betterman,
Yes.
Ms. Fiore,
Yes.
Ms. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Abstain.
Ms. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Ms. Hample.
Yes. Moving on to finance facilities. Can I get a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.11?
So move, Beth.
Can I get a second?
Second, Carolyn.
Thank you. And we have a committee report. Can somebody read that? I know we don't have any finance members here besides myself.
I have everything. Can we read it?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I know, we're like, yeah. Okay, the Finance Committee met on July 7th. The first item that was discussed was the 22-23 capital projects. There was an update given on the HBS roof, the Three Bridges cupola. Should I go into specifics for those or just the bullets for them? Whatever you prefer. Okay. All right, so the TBS cupola, the curriculum office, and also they discussed the maintenance reserve projects, which includes the facilities department projects, outdoor classroom enhancements at, it looks like all the schools, new pavers for Sensory Garden at Three Bridges, and all the projects are progressing. The other maintenance reserve project is the IT department projects, the server upgrades and stuff like that. The other topic discussed was the TBS boiler. A report was given and backup documents to investigate issues regarding the boiler and the blower motor. The committee also discussed security enhancements, which we will discuss further in executive session. Paraprofessional recruitment incentives. There was discussion regarding a finder's fee for new hires and a hiring bonus. They discussed the New Jersey Clean School Bus Grant. A grant was completed for 2 buses and 2 charging stations. Agenda items, which we see here tonight. They discussed the bills list, went through that. And the next meeting is planned for Tuesday, August 16th.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the report or the action items?
Eric has his hand raised.
Eric?
Thanks. Jason, does the outlook for the bus grants look any different than they have up until now?
Yes, so we previously applied for 5 electric bus grants with 2 to 3 buses of each of those. We've not been successful because most of those grants are targeting urban areas that are more municipal or interstate agencies, such as New Jersey Transit, things like that. The grant that we just submitted is a new 5-year grant through the federal government that is solely for electric school buses from school districts. So the odds of us receiving 1 or several grants in the next 5 years is very high.
That's very encouraging to hear. And also, I mean, the bigger cities, obviously, the air quality is generally poorer, so it's reasonable that they should get the electric buses. But this is great news. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, 3.09, the motion to approve alternate method of compliance and conformity. I know we're approving like a 1 line item for finance purposes, but just wanted to confirm that there'll be faculty oversight in making that successful for the kindergartners.
Yeah, so this agenda item, the goal is per New Jersey Administrative Code to have a bathroom in every kindergarten classroom, preschool classroom. We expanded our preschool, moved the kindergarten class over at Three Bridges. We have smaller class sizes, the goal for that classroom, which was discussed in personnel. The use of the kindergarten paraprofessionals for bathroom time and ensuring that the classroom is positioned across the hallway, directly across the hallway from the boys and girls bathroom. And there are also faculty offices right across the hall from there that are non-teaching faculty members to ensure that we have some other certificated professionals right there in that hallway to monitor. So long term though, with enrollment potentially increasing and things like that, we'll talk in finance about more long-term solutions. We have 4 sections right now at White House School Kindergarten. We have some self-contained classrooms for students with disabilities. It warrants a conversation at some point, maybe to see if we want to have a capital project in the future related to expanding bathrooms, for kindergarten students.
That was going to be my next question, so thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Betterman,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Zaborski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Sample.
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you. Moving on to education technology, can I get a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.04?
So move that. Second, Carolyn.
And we did not have a committee report.
We We do.
We do?
We didn't meet
From our
because we
June
didn't,
meeting.
right,
That's right.
we met right after our, June. Yeah, the Ed Tech committee met on June 16th. I don't even remember this.
Oh my God,
It
so long
feels so
ago.
good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we discussed the health and PE standards. There was a presentation by Tasmin,
Or cows.
Taz, okay. Taz Weisgerber from the nonprofit Answer. They're based out of Rutgers University. Taz shared with the committee a presentation that could be used during a parent night to explain the changes to the standards. Mrs. Pouch shared examples of potential health lessons in the various grade levels according to the new standards. The curriculum is being written this summer, and a parent informational night will take place before it comes before the board for approval. Next, we discussed the diversity, equity, inclusion training. That's going to happen end of August. Dr. Hart discussed the agenda for the training, for the workshop to take place this summer. Leadership team and a group of school teacher leaders, which is on our agenda also, will come away with a framework for training staff revolving around DEI and the new law. Lastly, we discussed the discussion of text approvals. The committee discussed the current protocol for which books come before the board for approval, and we recommended to further discuss this in the policy committee. And then we schedule our next meeting for August 18th.
Thank you. Thank you for remembering.
I know.
I just forgot to.
When I saw it in there, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't report on that.
Any comments or questions on the minutes or the agenda items?
So, yes, we're approving the K through 1 math curriculum tonight. Are we redrafting the curriculum for the other grades this summer?
Yes, so K1 is on the agenda for math tonight, but this is an older curriculum guide that we revised earlier this year that we needed to go back and make some formatting changes to it, and it just hadn't made it onto the board agenda until now.
Yeah, so I just want to know, are the other grades yet upcoming? Or have they been done?
To those, the math ones.
Eric, I'll have to email you back on that one because this is an older curriculum guide, so I don't know if these are older revisions that already happened like last summer and early in the fall, and I believe they are, because I don't think that math is one of the documents that's up for substantial revision this summer. I think it's focuses on science and social studies and some other curricular areas. The arts have new standards, but because this is an older curriculum guide, I think that this reflects changes that happened in 2021.
Okay, I guess I'll get to my punchline, which is that, assuming that we end up hopefully getting these electric buses, this would be a wonderful place to integrate into the curriculum somewhere for the students to do the mathematical problem of how many pounds of CO2 per student mile or some calculation of that nature are we avoiding by using these electric buses over the gas or diesel equivalent, and then tie it into the production from our own panels. I'm just trying to, if a student rides in an electric bus, then he or she immediately sees the personal impact of this, then tying it into the curriculum, the sustainability curriculum somewhere, whether it's in math, science, social studies, wherever it is. I'm just making my ever-present push for tying this into the curriculum.
Thanks, Eric. And it might be, timing might work out great because I know the state is reviewing math and language arts standards with the team this coming school year for potential standard revision, maybe around the same time that we know about the bus grant, later on this school year.
Thank you so much. Wherever you can tuck it in would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Ms. Fiore,
Yes.
Ms. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Holt,
Abstain.
Mr. Jerome,
Yes.
Ms. Sample.
Yes. Moving on to personnel. Can I get a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.14?
So move, Beth.
Second, Jennifer.
And we have a committee report. Personnel.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking communication was up next, wasn't it? I was trying to skip over. Oh, well. Anyway, yes, we do have, okay, thanks. Yeah, so the Personnel Committee met on July 12th, and we discussed staffing for the 2022-23 year, enrollment issues. We discussed the paraprofessional recruitment incentives that were mentioned in the finance department, finance committee. CJ Pride membership, other personnel matters, and then the agenda items of new hires, additional staff for ESY, and paraprofessional recruitment. And we scheduled our next meeting for August 8th. Monday, August 8th.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the minutes or the action items?
I just sent you, Carolyn, did you see?
I did see it right
a
before I
response?
came.
I just responded to Carolyn, just saying that I know Hunterdon Central participates in CJ Pride, and maybe if we're all trying to decide if that makes sense for us to do, maybe just check and see their experience so far. And, they're obviously we're a sending district for them. Maybe there's some good info.
I'll check with them. I want to let the committee know too that I also reached out to Charity Camella. She's the president or director of CJ Pride. She's a personnel director of West Windsor Plainsboro. I have a summary that she sent me. We're going to set up a phone call. I'm going to try to get some data, about their recruitment efforts, success in placing potential teachers, those kinds of things. So I'll bring that back to the committee hopefully next time week. And info from Dr. Warren. Central. I want to say Flem Rare just joined this past year as well.
I have a question on agenda item 5.10. What is the Lakeview School? I feel like I should know this. I do not.
I have the same question.
Okay.
The board may recall, we first I'll start by saying we have students with disabilities that require services not within our district, but in an out-of-district placement. Some students also require certain medical services. Tyler, the individual that's on this agenda, is a nurse that we hired for a specific student that attends that school because of medical needs that are outlined in the IEP. This would have been on our ordinary ESY agenda items, but we're catching up now because of the need that we have.
That's our responsibility to provide according to IEP.
That's correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the IEP calls for a private duty nurse, so and you may remember, some of the board members in personnel may remember that we tried to accomplish this through a nursing agency, which was not successful. So we decided to hire a nurse directly ourselves.
And it's more cost efficient, right?
It became more cost efficient, but the other thing too is, if we can allow her to, if there are certain days where Lakeview School isn't in, or other days where the student doesn't attend because there's two students as well. She's subbed here in her district, but she's come in as a substitute, so we've been able to use her, especially in the past year. She's really helped out our nurses in screenings and contact tracing and some other things. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. It was because there were two students, I recall. The agency required if there were two students, two nurses, but that wasn't the IEP, so we accomplished it with one nurse for two students.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Benham,
Yes.
Ms. Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Zawarli,
Yes.
Sample.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to communication, can I get a motion to adopt 6.01?
So move, Beth. Second, Carolyn.
And we did not have a committee report. Are there any questions on the action item?
I'll just report that we do have a policy and communications committee meeting coming up. It's next week at 4 o'clock on the 27th.
Thank you. All right, can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Betterman,
Yes.
Ms. Fiore,
Yes.
Ms. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Wolf,
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland,
Yes.
Ms. Sample.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, unfinished business. Just a reminder for everyone, the board member petitions are due to the county office by July 25th at 4 p.m. Anyone interested in running? And just a follow-up, you all received the survey regarding the Judy Wilson retreat. That's as much for Judy as it is for us to see, if it was successful for us. So if everybody can get that completed. Is there any other unfinished business from the board?
I think I have something. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think about it. I think, so I attended through the SBA through Hunterdon County. Senator Vin Gopal is doing some information gathering, and he's meeting with, by county, he's meeting to get input from stakeholders, and he's meeting with Board of Ed members. And I just encourage all of you, if you have any interest, you can join a different county's information session. But I felt as a new board member, it was extremely enlightening for me to hear what other districts are. I think we were with Hunterdon, Somerset, and Warren, maybe we were the three that worked together. And it was really useful. And he offers out his email, his staffer's email, if we have any concerns that we want to reach out to him with. I just wanted to put that out there because at the meeting last week, we were talking about advocacy and maybe adding that as part of what we are thinking about we want to work on in the future. And that might be a great avenue for us. So I thought it was really helpful. It was only like an hour long and just really good information.
How can we get more information to attend?
It's on the NJSBA website. Just go on and sign up to the call center.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any new business from the board? Not hearing any. We are now open to the public for anything on or off the agenda. Nothing on the line, right?
I don't see anything, no.
All right. We are now going to move on to executive session there it is. Can I get a motion to move to executive session to adopt the following resolution? Adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss safety and security for approximately 30 minutes, at which time the board expects to return to public session where action shall not be taken. The matters discussed will be made public if and when the circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not presently known when such circumstances will exist. Can I get the motion, please?
So move, Beth. Second, Carolyn.
And can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Betterman,
Yes.
Ms. Fiore,
Yes.
Ms. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Ms. Sample.
Yes. All right, 5:39. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
You have the executive link?
Yeah.
Oh, we were muted. He's saying it. Oh, stay there.
Eric and Tom, do you have the links for executive session?
I guess they do that. Or if they don't, they're not coming back.